All right, so we're looking at our Tailwind site. You know, what we're going for is this really slick site from Front End Mentors that looks something like this in the desktop version. Orange, we are creative. Got this text, image, image, text, image, image with text in there. This cool grid, yeah. Some testimonials, 4 images across the bottom, and the footer, yeah. So a couple of tidbits that I wanted to add to your tool belt. I have defined a div that has 6 other divs in it. You seeing this? A through F. And I gave them different colors of blue as their background. So over here you see there's A and B, C. See, they're stacking on top of each other. And I wanted to explore one way that we could make those in a grid, a grid of squares, very much like our design. You can do this with Flex, but there's this other layout mode called CSS Grid. Has anybody heard of CSS Grid before? Okay, so I didn't teach it in Intro to Web Design, but it's really pretty simple, and Tailwind makes it like almost even simpler because it has the utility classes for all the grid things. So if I were to go to Tailwind and look up grid, you'll see a lot of grid things come up here, and I'm going to click Grid Template Rows, and you'll see that we can define over here, we can define all kinds of stuff based on grids, and it's pretty straightforward. And I wanted to show you how that works by doing it. So this is what we currently have, and here's what we're going to do. In the outer thing that is the container for our grid, we're going to give it a class of grid. Notice that doesn't change anything. Everything is still stacked up. So I've added this grid class. Within that, I'm going to say grid calls for columns -2, because I'd like there to be 2 columns. And then, let's see. What am I doing wrong? Oh, wait, am I running this? I want to make sure that I'm running npm run watch. And, that was not updating. Let me take this back and make sure that I'm doing this right. So when I say, this is what it looked like. Yes? This is what it should look like. I didn't update before. When I say grid, it's making it display grid. And this doesn't change anything. But as soon as I say grid calls 2, it says make there be 2 columns. You see this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is going to, by default, take up full width. You see these guys? They stretch, and they're basically always at 50% of the width. Yeah? Something that, let's imagine that this is just for free. Maybe we don't want those to span the whole 100% width. You can have a max width, and you can specify this in lots of numbers. You can see there's all these regular numbers for max width, but you can also do it in the size units. So we could say I would like this maximum width to be LG for large. Now this whole thing, basically, this is the large width. If I were going to do something like that, though, I would probably want that to stay centered. And one way to make something stay centered is on the container, give it an MX. X is the horizontal. So this is horizontal margin. And I would like this to have an MX of auto. And by making it MX of auto, you see it centers it because it basically gives margin left and right equal to auto. If I wanted this to be a little bit bigger, maybe I want to take this up to XL. You see how that gets a little bit bigger. And there's all these other XLs that are defined, 5XL. So now it looks like it's full width. But as I get bigger, you see that it's not actually full width. You seeing that? So that's just specifying a maximum width. Okay. I guess for ours, if you look at it, there is no maximum width. So I will do that, which will make it 100%. One thing we do have, though, is we have squares. Yes? Squares. So there, how do we make something a square? Tailwind has this aspect class, and if we say aspect square, you see it defines the aspect ratio to be 1/1. So that's like your width to height. This is plain old CSS right here. This is regular CSS. Aspect square is the class that Tailwind writes for us. So if we put that in, you'll note that now we force this first guy, A, to be the same height as its width. So it's a square. That's cool, right? So I really want this, I would like this to be on all of them. B automatically is filling up the space because there's that much available. But I'm going to go ahead and make all these. I'm going to force these to be squares. And now you see that there are like 6 squares. Our design doesn't do this, but I'm going to show it to you anyway because it's easy. You see as this gets bigger, these things remain squares and they start getting really, really big. That feels a little bit gross to me. So what we essentially would like to do is say, actually, at certain screen sizes, I'd like there to be 3 columns wide instead of 2, because this looks like about the size box that is equivalent to this when it's calls 2. You with me? So we can do this because very easily because Tailwind lets us use responsive classes. You remember this magic? And all we have to do is say one of our 3 4 breakpoints. Let's try MD for medium. So we say MD colon. So we're saying on medium devices and bigger, use this other class instead of the class that we have. We just did it. It's grid-calls-3. So it looks like for what we've got here, my current screen size is already medium. So you see it's 2, 2, 2, and then it becomes 3 there. Maybe I'd like it to stay 2 a little bit longer. In that case, I might want to say LG. So now, you can look it up. LG is 1,024 pixels. You see if I'm hovering over this, and you see it's 64 rems is 1024 pixels. If you want to, this is the actual CSS that it's writing, grid template columns, and it's repeating 3 that have a minimum width of 0 and a max of 1 FR, which is a fractional unit. Okay, so this maybe is a little bit more like what I was wanting, where up to this medium size, it's 2 wide, and then it becomes 3 wide. Is that making sense? So this was a reminder of how to use the responsive system in Tailwind. Now maybe we want to be even more special, and we might say, actually, I would like to just have 1 column on very small devices. Like if you were on a phone, maybe you actually would want them, which is, I think, is exactly our design. So in this case, our baseline is going to be grid calls 1. And now we might say, once you reach a small size device, small, I want to say grid calls 2, -2. So we go from a 1 column layout to right there. There's the breakpoint that goes from a under small to small. So now small and medium will be 2, And then once I get to large in here, then it becomes 3. Does that make sense? To me, it's so much easier to do responsive stuff like this than to write media queries. But making this site responsive isn't going to really be that hard, I don't think, because mostly everything just goes to one column. Questions on this? There's other fancier stuff that you can do with grids. For example, there's stuff that you really can't do very well at all with Flex. Let me show you one of those. I mean, you could do this with Flex, but let me do it this way. Something like this, where you've got things that are like breaking your grid. You can easily do with Flex. You can say these have a start column and an end column and a start row and an end row, and you can make stuff stretch across the grid. Okay. I believe that the our design has different image files for desktop and mobile. They're like the same images deep down, but they're like different sizes. So like that, there's the image gallery. What's this say? Cone. And on desktop, there's an image cone. I think it has a slightly different. I think this is a bigger image, like in file size and number of pixels. And it's actually, looks like this is a little bit more square. It looks like it's cut different to me. You see that? Looks like there's more blue on top. So there's at least 2 ways you could do this. One is you can duplicate the images and just put them both in and make one hidden and the other visible. So that would be maybe a straightforward, but then you've got to duplicate. So if, let me see how we could do that. Put here. So if we have I don't like the all caps. If we had an image, and this is under images / desktop image gallery cone. Let's look at it. There's the cone. So that is there. I'm going to copy this and also put the same little guy underneath. Okay, you see how it's smaller, so that means it's going to would be smaller to download. We can put a class equal to hidden, and then it's just gone. You with me? Up here, I can likewise, I can actually maybe make it block. Block's not going to do anything because block is going to appear. But what if I did this? What if I said, I got to think about it right. Basically, I want one of these to be hidden. I think I need it to be the other way. I want this to be block. I want the small to be the default. And on MD sizes and above, I want it to be hidden. So I can say MD hidden, and that would mean on medium-sized devices and larger, this hides. So then I need the opposite, right, kind of up here, which would be to say, by default, this is hidden, and on medium-sized devices and above, it becomes block. Does that make sense? Does that seem right? So the little guy, did I say, is going to appear on large devices, and then on small devices, it's the small image. So that's like kind of maybe the effect that we want, but honestly, that doesn't save the user anything. Now they're having to download both images, and then they don't get to see the big one. You with me? They don't get to see the big one because it's hidden. If you were on a mobile phone, your width would never be that big, so you wouldn't be able to see it. It would just be hidden. Does this make sense? It's also to me a little gross that you intentionally put in you put in two image elements and you're only ever going to see one. So the right way of doing this, which I don't know, I almost don't even want to make you do now that I see the current syntax for it. You see this image? This source set is now the modern way of doing responsive images, such that you're saying this size, this is the small version. I think this 480 is the size. So this means it's 480 pixels wide, and this is 800 pixels wide. And it looks like here you have to say sizes, and you're saying if the width of the browser is less than 600 pixels, then you use the 480 pixel, this version, this image. Otherwise, you use the 800. On the whole, you probably don't care to go to this effort to save the users downloading the other file, because you're going to be the main user and it's going to be fast on your computer because it's all local. So I don't know. To me, it feels bad for you to not know that this exists. But there is this way of actually serving the user a different image file based on the width. And this would be the way to do that. Okay. That's interesting. They make images block level. That is actually more sane. I like that. Okay. So you can imagine how we could use this grid to accomplish the layout that we've got. What else do you see on this design that's challenging? Okay, so we kind of want to overlay the text on the image. And I would suggest that we do that in a similar way as we did the header. So let's try that. You want to just take a stab and see what that would look like? I'm going to fake it by putting it in one of these boxes that I already made. You okay with that? It's the second to last one, right? And really it should be in 2-column. So I don't really need that. Right? It should only ever be 2-column. Make that smaller, this, that, and it should be in this one. So instead of that, we want to have, oh, well, wait, we could just make it a background image. That might be easier. So you remember, isn't it BG dash square bracket URL parenthesis And then the path to the image, well, that's a little bit gross. Images slash, what is it, desktop slash image dash graphic. There's a graphic design. Dot. I did it. Can't believe it worked on the first time. I'm going to put these guys on separate things. So it should be that, yeah, that completely overlays this blue. So you can't even see that. Like the other one, we probably want this to be BG cover. Cover. Cover? Is it really off center like that? I think there's another one called center. Yeah. So this is showing you. This is how you center the background image. We want it to cover the whole thing, meaning that we want the div, which is square, to be fully covered by the picture. So it's either going to chop off the left and the right of the image or the top and the bottom to make that work. So if you've got this, now you got to be careful. Like I don't like you could very easily overlap your text on that background image, which you probably don't. But maybe it looks like it's an H2. What does it say? Like graphic design. And there's probably like a paragraph that says something. It's down here. Let's see. Great design makes you memorable. We deliver. Yeah. Okay. So this feels a little hacky. You could put a bunch of top padding on the div, or you could put a bunch of top margin on this. So if I put padding top, it's going to have to be pretty big. I don't know. What's 9 look like? Oh, 9 is nothing. Can I do XL? No. LG? No. What's the biggest they got? Okay, they got some pretty big numbers. 56. I don't know if every single number is represented. Maybe it is. Maybe it writes it dynamically. That's going to be too much. Once I make that image bigger, once I make this text bigger, you see what I'm doing? I'm pushing it down using padding from the top, but you don't want that to overlap. So in here, we definitely need to like make this, is it called, I need class equals, is it text, text 2XL? I don't know, 3XL? And it should be some font, right? What is it, like text, font, font? What did I call that? Headings. Does it look like that? It's the other font? It's just really bold, isn't it? So that's the font weight, which is like font black. That's close, right? And then I also need it to be a different color. And there's that, well, that color's defined, right? It's text. I forgot what it was called. You remember? Green 500, probably. It's going to look out of place here. Yeah. Oh, now that looks too close to the cherries. Does that look too close to the cherries? Yes. Ooh. Well, it's because I've got this, I think. As it gets bigger, You see the problem there? All right, we got to rethink this. I would think, what if we make each box a flex box? And then we push the text to the bottom, push the whole thing to the bottom, and then pull it up off the bottom. Like put some bottom margin or padding down here to push it up, but it's always like anchored to the bottom, then we won't get that terrible overlap. So if we were going to do that, how would we do that? Okay, so I want, I think I actually want to, I think I want to make a div that contains the text. Like that. Sorry, the terrible spacing is killing me. It shouldn't look any different for now. You with me? So now this div, hang on, this has a, look, BG red. Oh, I need to give it some. It's just that. Yeah? So that guy, let's see. It's still got that padding, which I don't want. Oh no, I think, oh, I didn't need to make this extra div. Did I? I bet I didn't. I think if I make this a flex container, that's great. Perfect. And then if on my flex, I said, I want this to be a flex call. So I want it going up and down. I want it to be a flex column. And then how do you make everything go to the end of the column? Is it justify end? Yeah. Oops. Yeah. And now I could put some padding at the bottom of like 10 and push that up. I probably also need some padding X, PX of something. 3 to bring that in from the edges. So that's not, surely that's not what theirs look like. Oh, they have so much extra space than I do. Is there anything for what? That's just a text center, and that's gonna center all of that. What do y'all think? Let's see. Let's see what it looks like as we get bigger. At least it does still stay in the box. See, I don't know. I think it probably shouldn't, like, well, you see why you got to flow to one column. And maybe, to me, this is, if you're having issues like this on a design, to me that says you need to go to one column sooner. Don't try to hack this out. Like, if we go to one column at this level, then it'll work, I bet. Because, see, that looks fine, right? Because as it gets so big, you might want to increase the font size even. This needs some spacing as well here, which I don't need this div, I don't think. Do I? No. And then I could put a gap between these. You know, a flex gap. What's a gap of 1 look like? 2. You see graphic design's moving because it's adding a gap there. That's okay, right? It's decent. I guess you could use your responsive stuff and say, hey, if you're on an LG or above size device, then make the padding bottom like way bigger, like 20. You see that? So it's 10, 10, and then once it gets big, it becomes 20. It's a little bit better. My font sizes might not be right either. They might be a little bit bigger font size. But to me, it's still like, isn't this easier than writing CSS? Negative? It's the same? Okay. It's harder. To me, it seems easier because you can just stay in the HTML and you try a thing and you see if it works. You have to pull it between files and stuff. Can I show you something really cool? Have y'all seen this? Graphic designers, don't you love them? Look at this. Have you seen this design? when you hover over it, there's supposed to be this underline, but the underline is like offset so that it's kind of slightly underlapping the letters. How are you going to do that? Those are some ideas. Now, I confess I don't know the Tailwind way of doing this exactly, but I have ideas. This is really just a link, isn't it? Yeah, I think it should be a link. You want to just explore it and see what we could do here? It's really like in this first guy, isn't this? Not that one. This first box. There's like a H1. What's it say? What's it supposed to say? Transform your brand. I know it's written down here. And oh, there's a paragraph. And the paragraph is this junk. And there's a link. So this should definitely be a hover effect on this link. And I know how to do that regular. How do I want to make it, basically I would like to make it so that there's like a span or something down here. There's this other element that is, oh no, maybe this is it. That's is hidden by default. And I want to make it show on hover. So I'm going to say hover : block. Okay. Moreover, I would like this to have a width of oh, that's interesting. Do you see what they did? This is so evil. Do you see this? Can you see it? Do you see what the width is? It's wider than the element. You see the yellow? Wider than the thing that it's in. So my gut would be, we might be able to say, we would like this to be 120%. And do you remember these square brackets is how you can make up a new custom number in your, as a Tailwind class. And I would like this to be some color. So I'm going to call this BG dash, what was it called? Yellow something? Is there any chance this worked? Hang on. I don't actually want it to be hidden yet. Well, that's unfortunate. That worked. Hmm. Hmm. It doesn't take up space because there's nothing in it. What if I put the span around this? Would it do something then? No. Why would it do something then? I know how to do this in regular HTML and I'm in regular CSS. So that's a block element. It's 120 width. Oh, hang on. I didn't mean to shut it there. Okay. Yeah. I would like to say when you hover over it, it does something. Like, let's just change the background color. So that looks like it's working. That's ish. Okay. Now, what if we... No, that's not going to work. I need to be able to translate just this down and make it narrower and have rounded corners. How do I make something as wide as its parent? Fit? Are you serious? There's nothing in there. But if I make it 120%, then it's 120% of what? Of what it should be? So what's full do? That doesn't do anything. Okay. All right, another way of doing this that I didn't want to have to do was to say after. And we can create a block that I think is dynamically created after this. I gave it a width, I gave it a height, I gave it an after. I gave it a background color. So why didn't that work? Okay. Well, I'm going to hack on this and see if I can do this the Tailwind way. That's a tricky part to me, is doing that fancy underline only on hover. Okay. So I'll work on that between now and Friday. What other things are y'all seeing that are challenging? It looks like it's, I mean, you could do it a grid way or a flex way. I kind of like, see, to me it also looks like, is this all? No. This area, to me in particular, looks like it has a maximum width of something. So this would be like, what was it, W dash max of like LG. So it basically never gets wider. And then within this, it looks like there's a grid of three things. You could use that grid and grid calls 3. And then each one of these looks like it has an image and a paragraph. And then, I don't know, another paragraph with the name and the thing. Oh, there is a, Actually, I guess you need another thing here to define the grid. because you've got that like H2 that says client testimonials that's above it that you don't want in your grid. It needs to be outside the grid and above it. Does that make sense? Oh, oh. Okay. And I would almost be inclined, like you could put these in a flex here, or you could use grid there as well, but just make it a grid that has calls 4. What I don't know is if all of those images actually have the intrinsic size as the same. Like if you had an image that was 300 pixels wide, and another one that's 330, and then another one that was like 290, and the other was 334. They're close, but if you put them all across, either you get little gaps, or you'd have to make sure that you made them all like width 100%, width full, so that they fill up the whole space. Does that make sense? You really want those to be exactly the same, or it'll look weird. Has anybody messed with these icons at all? Oh, there's another hard part that we haven't talked about at all, which is the mobile menu, and I definitely would like to cover that Friday, because we'll get to do some JavaScript finally on this. Yes? No? Then I can't talk about this on Friday. If I record myself doing it, would you watch it? When's this due? So that's till next week. Oh, why? What I want this to do is you click on this hamburger button, menu appears. You click off of it, the menu disappears. You know this pattern? We can use a little bit of JavaScript to make this appear, disappear. Because really, it's always there. But it just has a class of hidden. And we're going to add and remove a hidden class, dynamically when we click on stuff. So I wanted to remind you guys that we are going to do the code along for the quantum thing today between like 3 and 5. Hopefully it might not take that long, but we'll be here. I think Dr. Barr is going to come with his crew, and we're gonna learn some quantum stuff. We're gonna like harness power of the universe on our computers to do computation. It could be fun. It could increase our minds. Are you saying Monday is too soon to get this done? What if we focused on getting the desktop site done by Monday? And then we could do the mobile site. Is it you want to talk? Is there another project in another class that you have?
Think about it. This and quantum.
I mean, quantum's going to be done on Friday, right? And we're going to work on it this afternoon.
Some people can't make it.
What are some people doing?
Stuff that makes like it's.
So what would you propose? Did we make that other project due on Monday? No, I said Wednesday. Right, that's like 2 days later.
Oh, plus other classes.
Oh.
Outside of communication.
I've got to like.
So, like, I'm not an unreasonable person, but I'm a little unreasonable. I think I would like to see your desktop version of this site. And I would really like to see it in class on Monday so that we could share with each other and see what issues we've had come up. I think it is also okay with me for this site and maybe other sites, probably other sites in this class, for there to be some collaboration, if that's helpful, I don't know if that goes without saying. It shouldn't go without saying, I guess. If that is helpful to like do some collaborative pair programming, but I would like to see in class a mostly done version of the desktop site, and bugs or issues that you have left are like, oh, that is hard, that's complicated, and we should talk about that together. So that then, since it's the desktop site, that eliminates this whole JavaScript thing. You're welcome to, like, you're going to submit the mobile version as well, but we can make that like a second submission time. I would like to work out this underline thing to try to do it right instead of the gross way. Thoughts? Always. Yeah. I wanted you to have all the tools. Annika, thoughts? Yes. Definitely plan to record the thing today. Yeah. Remind me if I don't publish it, like today. I will try to publish this too. It is being recorded. Okay, I want you guys to stay strong. Let's keep the communication lines open. Remember the Discord that you can communicate. I know that Tailwind's a little bit at first, but I promise you, it ends up making you faster. And I want you to have this productivity speed up. So give it a chance and try to work through it. Remember Command K and ask how to do a thing on their website. If you're going to use ChatGPT, make sure you're learning a lot from it and not just having it do it. But to say, how do you do this in Tailwind, I think is a pretty good way of saying, oh, that's how you do it. Okay, you just need those classes. Okay. Blessings, guys. Maybe I'll see you later.